So now on this, since we read the beginning, we read the first two sections in the broad, in the way that the Rebbe Shimon had brought it. He says, so now we're going to look at the pirish that goes on it. And it says, Omer Hanavi. So this is a pasuk in Yeshaya. He says, Yeshayahu. He says, Hoi Gol Choite. So here we have a goy which sins. That's the Jewish people. Kaved, this is the way to pronounce it, Kaved Avon, heavy with avonos, with sins. Zera Meraim, this is a seed, the seed that makes evil, in other words, the children. Banim Mashchisim, they're children that destroy Ozvul Hashem and abandon Hashem. The Atzeres Kodesh Yisrael, and they anger a Kodesh Baruch Hu. The Kodesh Yisrael, Nazru Achor, they go backwards, they make things every going the wrong way. He says that the pasuk itself is counting, and it continues. Shiva dargim, sheva madregos shall raus. There are 7 different madregos of bad things, and now he mentions it. Well, number 1 is goy choit, and number 2 is am kaved avon. That's, in other words, we are people that sin. We're heavy with sins. Zera merayim. This is a zera which is turned to evil. Zera, that your children become evil. Banim mashchisim, the children destroy. And number hey, he says, Azvu as Hashem, we abandon the name Hashem. Number vav, ne'atzach b'ches kodesh Yisrael, they implant, or excuse me, they anger the kodesh of the Jewish people. Nezuru achar, and they cause everything to go the wrong way, the backwards. V'hem keneged sheva mini rishayim, and so we see also these 7. There's also 7 types of evil people that are mentioned, Miskarim, B'Sefer Zohar, and the Zohar, and La'el, he says in Parshas Truma. He says, Shehem Roa, which are bad, Belial, unable to move upwards or to change, Cheta, sinner, Rasha, all these names are bad people, Mashchis, a person who destroys, elates, a joker, Yahir, and an arrogant person. Asher Kenegdam Yesheva Meduri Gehenim, corresponding to them, there are 7 different dwelling places in hell. So it comes out like this, that these 7 different Medregos, Shehem Mitzad HaKlipa, they come from the side of the Klipa. Heim Le'umas Sheva Medregos Mitzad HaKadusha, because where you have 7 Medregos of bad, you also have 7 Medregos of Kedusha, and he says, what are they? Shehem Sod Elu Hasheva Partsufi Atzilus, which are the Partsufim, that is the systems, for minimizing the light of the Ein Sof Baruch Hu and bringing it downwards. Number 1 is Eric Anpen, number 2 is Abba, number 3 is Ima, number 4 is Yisrael Saba, number 5 is Tavuna, number 6 is Zer Anpen, and number 7 is the Nukva de Zer Anpen. Ve'ela Hasheva Partsufin, they're mazim ba'osios, and here are the letters Yud, K, Vav, K, written like that. Now, it actually, I said that wrong. It's Yud, then it's KK, then it's Vav K, and then it's K Yud. So we'll pick it up here on the other side, God willing, and we'll see where we go from there. If we start on the word was Ve'elu Hasheva Partsufin Nirmazim, so the 7 Partsufin we just mentioned are, we're all right. So our Yud Vav Dalet, KK, Vav K, and Hey K Yud. Now, how exactly does that work? Dahaim Makutza Shal Yud. So we have that one. Hu Keneged Erika Paim. We've heard this many times. Osius Yud Vav Dalet Him Keneged Abba. But this is a little different setup here. So the Yud, which is just actually the Kutza Shal Yud, is as small as teeny weeny Yud. So then he said, but if you put them all together in the Milui, they come out to be Abba. And then we come over to Hey, Hein Keneged Ima. That refers to Ima. Osios Hey Yud, then he skips. This was interesting to me as I looked at it first. He skips and he goes to the last one. He says the last one, Hey Yud, Hein Keneged Yisrael Saba Tavuna. Ki Os Yud, He Keneged Yisrael Saba. The Os Hey, He Keneged Tavuna. Then we haven't dealt with the Vav K. In the sequence, he started off Yud K, Vav K, if you just looked at the first letters of the Yud K, Vav K areas. Now he comes over here and he says, Osias Vav K, Those who hem keneged zer v'nuk. Okay, we've heard that before. Ki os vav ki keneged zer. So the vav is masculine and it refers to zer anpin. Os k is the house is he keneged nukva. This is malchus. V'hindecha b'dechil is a pasuk now. So when we started the pasuk, we said hoi. We use the word omer hoi. Obir eating osius hoi. Now here he says it's not just hoi. It's not just a word that's kind of unusual. Actually, it is unusual. It says that a hey, then it's a vav, and then it's a yud. What's playing here? V'ha sod hu, and it goes like this in the sod. Sho rolls v'chavavonu shel the rishayim, the bad things we do. Gormin pirud chas v'sholom, they call seperation bein zar v'nuk, between zer anpen and his nukva. So what happens is the shefa that's in zer anpin leaves. He says it goes back to its origin is in bina, and that's why it said v'zechu she'amar vav vav afit daled. So he went into the next phrase in that system. The Hagan, that whereas a shalafi seder partzufe hatzilus, if you look at the way hatzilus goes, is a zer anpin who's sod os vav, which is the vav, hotzi v'tikun es nukva shehib sod os dalet. So the vav goes into the dalet. But here he says that the vav, and he puts the vav, just two vavs together like that, it excludes the dalet. Of course, that's the proper way, or the normal way, that this is supposed to flow. But now here the situation is not going to be like that because of avonos. So hey mistalkim. So we have this hey, just this hey mistalkim zer anpin. That is the nai anpin o amochid, which represents the nai of ima, or he says particularly tavuna. Shehi sod os hey, which is the secret of the letter hey. The hoizach of the shroshim, in other words, the hay represents the feed into zeranpen, which is the nai of ima. The hoizach of the shroshim bebina el yoina, and they go all the way back to the bina up above, which is up above tavuna. Shehi gam came sod os hay, which is also hey. So now you have hay and hay. Mare kan beis osios hay. So hoi, this word hoi. Now what do you get out of that? The hey, and then he comes to zer anpin, and then what's the yud? V'zecha v'soda os yud shall milas hoi. Ki os hey shall bina, the letter of the hey, which represents bina, mischaveres in os yud vav and yud. It joins it together, self together with these two, shall zer anpin. V'ha'inyan hu zer anpin hu so the os vav. As we know, moshik imo es yisod, which here in this case is going to be the little vav. Let's say like that. It is a yud, but he says shuhu os yud. But nemsa shashtei os yis vav and yud elo nifradim hanukva. So it comes out that these two letters, the vav and the yud, they're separated. Nifrados mehanukva. They separate themselves from the nukva. The chosros, the mistalkos, as os hey shall bina, and they go back to the bina. So it's like, instead it should be, let's say like this, it should be the hey goes into the vav and the vav goes into the yud, and now you have everything in the yisod. But instead, it's going the other way. It's going from the left to right. It's going that the yud is pulling out, and it's good, and the vav pulling out, and they're going back to the hey. That's what makes hoy. So when Yeshaya said the word hoy, he meant that oy veismer, everything is going the wrong direction. It's going backwards instead of forwards. Now let's talk about that particular level, he says. They're called bonim mashchis, and destroying children. Shem madregus revis. So this is the madrega, this is the fourth level of evil that we talked about, and we compared it previously. And hashchasas v'stiris binyan shel bonim. I think that's how you read it, which is really the destruction, the taking down of the structure of the children. Shehem zer v'nuk, which are zohar v'nuk. And they crime yachad adam, that when you put the two together, as we said before, this is what adam is male and female. V'ravonu shel the rishayim, and also the sins of the rishayim in some way. Hein hagormin pirud bebito b'chidas adam, they destroy the man. So this is what it says, hey, hey, apik vav vav. So now what does that mean? So it sounds like hey, hey is excluding the vav. Ki lefi seder hatzilus, the way that tzilus works is like this. Hine bina v'tavuna, shehem sod hey and hey, let's say like they're both hays. Motzim or Magadlim as Vav Vav Shehu Zer Anpin, which the two of them relate to Zer Anpin, that's Hey Hey to Vav Vav. So then he has Dalad Vav, Levar. So the concept is that this leaves what does that mean? He says the Dalad, which usually represents Malchus, and the Vav, which usually represents Zer Anpin, leaves him out. Then the zohar v'nuk grow. V'na'asim partsufim shleimim. They become complete partsufim. Shehem so of this letter do. This letter dalet, which is the secret. He says is that is the dalet the vav actually teaches you that there's actually two partsufim here. Sheyatza the chutz v'nolda bebina, and they go out. They go out by themselves or outside. I'm not whether they, and through bina they're born. So that's the way that's supposed to be. Du partsufim coming into being one partsuf. In the name of Adam. They're called Adam then, which is a partsuf of yichud. But now, the way we behave. Chosrim zer v'nuk the bechinas katnas. So therefore, zohar v'nuk, they go to the bechina called katnas. And astir Adam dachar v'nuk the inun do. So he says, and then what happens as nistar binyan Adam. So then what happens is now you're this construction that we made, it brought zohar v'nuk together into oneness. That's being destroyed, nistar, torn down. Shuhu bechinas apartzufim ashleim, which they, that is, do represents the partzufim that are Adam. That's better, even the partzufim b'shleim shal zohar v'nuk. Shehem so do, that is, do partsufim, two partsufim, and nikroyim Adam, which are called Adam. This is all the time, he's saying this a lot. Like we say like this, Zochav v'nekeva baram, so they created male and female, Shemam Adam, so their main name is Adam. Dechsiv v'zechu shekosiv ala Rishoim, this is what it said about the Rishoim, bonim mashchisim, so you have children who are destroyers. You still there, Rabbi? Okay. So banim mashchisim. So now this phrase banim mashchisim, the fish shehem gorman hashchasis v'stiris binyan abanim, because the structure that allowed the flow of shefa to come into the children is not there anymore. Hashchasis v'stiris binyan abanim shehem zer v'nuk, which are zohar v'nuk. Okay, so now we're going to a slightly different. You keep continuing on interesting ideas. He says, "Kasa b'Torah." So we have in the first parsha, first line, Bereshis bara. So he said, "V'hinei shtei tevus elu ramazin the partsufi abba v'zer anpin." So this is partsufi, the relationship between chachma and zer anpin, abba v'zer anpin. And Bavar Bereshis Mimer. So it says the word Bereshis is a mimer. Shemidas Bereshis Shuhu Mimer. So he says this is called a mimer. Mimer, it's actually the first thought, let's say the first statement or thought. I think thought is not bad. He says Shuhu Mimer Harishon Shal Sara Mamarosh Nivra Olam. So this is the first mimer of the 10 Maimaros on which the world was created.
Muted.
I'm unmuted?
You were muted before.
Really? I don't know what happened over there. Okay, anyway, I got to this Bereshis Mimer idea, that this is the first of the 10 Maimaros. Shemidas Bereshis, Shuhu Mimer Rishon, Shal L'Sara Maimaros, Shendivra B'Olam, Hu B'Sod Chochma Shenikra Reshis. This is the Chochma, we have so many places where we see that Chochma is related to the concept of Reshis. The Hainu Partsuf Abba. That is Abba. That's what we call the parts of Abba. And the Nikrach of the Mimer Shalom. It's called a complete mimer. Why? The Fishanichlabo call him Hatzilus. Because inside of this Abba, is the entire Hatzilus. Gamosha and Ember Kula B'Chochma Sisa, all of them came out, or created, or made out of Chochma. So then it says, well, that's the first two words are Bereshis and Bara. Here's Bara. Amilas Bara, who sowed parts of Zer Anpen, and Nikra Ben, who's called the son. Ki Ben Beloshan Targum, who Bara, because that's how you say it in Aramaic. The Haida Osios Bara. So let's take the word, the letter Bara. Chetzi Mimer. It's really half of the first mimer. V'hu Nikra Rak Chetzi Mimer. It's only half of the mimer. The Vishazer Anpin ain't a koil as called the Chatzilus does not incorporate all of its zilus. Not like Av, we just said like Abba. Av Uben. So it comes to a situation like is you have the first generation and then the child. Hariki Hashtei Tevas Bereshis Bara. So these two words themselves, Yachdab, if you put them together, Hem Sod Av Uben. They're the secret of the son and the father. So he said Dehainu Partsufi Abba V'Zer Anpin Ka'amor. That is, we're talking about the Partsufim of Abba V'Zer Anpin. V'amnam yesh chiluk bein Abba l'Zer Anpin. So we see that there's a difference between Abba and Zer Anpin. Mekaven Sausin V'Galia. Sowed parts of Abba who saucing, because the concept over here is that Abba is closed up. We really only know that it's a beginning. Ve'ein misha yasigo, so it's unreachable. Ulefi Erech Abba, and in relationship to Abba, Nachshav sowed parts of Zer Anpin, then we could consider the secret of Zer Anpin, Bebechinas Megula. It's like it's revealed, like it's much more substantial, something much more visible. It explains more. Ki bein Abba bein Zer Anpin, whether we're talking about Abba or Zer Anpin, the Kroim Aden. They're called Aden. Amnam yesh chelek b'neichem shahare Abba b'nikra Aden law v'sasa v'gonis. So he's called the upper Aden. So he says, which is closed up and hidden away. Aden ha'elyon ha'sasa v'gonos. She'im misha yasig l'zokana, but it's not possible for a human to be able to picture it. Zer Anpin nikra Aden t'tah, but Zer Anpin on the other hand, Aden t'tah ta'achton, Nafik lematanoi. So what was that phrase? I remember that before. It goes out as usable. She'inim sasam. It's not closed up. Elamispasha v'yosem elamisoa, but it goes out and it travels. David b'malchut v'hizgalia, and as a result of the yichud that it takes place, that happens with malchut, that is this concept of Adam, which you said before, but here now we're talking about the yichud. Because it's the nukva that actually distributes the oros that come into her from Zer Anpin. So through the two of them together, and you actually see a revelation in some way of Zer Anpin. Well, here's another difference between Abba, which is Chochmah, and Zer Anpin. It says they could also be these two words, Havaya and Yak. Shazer Anpin Nikra Havavaya. Ve'eda Abba Nikra Yud K. So Yud K means Abba Ve'ima Eloyan, like that. Va'ata Habachoyzer Hadavaya Hemshech Apostle Shal Bereshis. So now let's talk about, these are some ideas that he brought us here. Exactly what we're going to do with these ideas, I'm not sure yet. So he said, Va'ata Habachoyzer Hadavaya Hemshech Apostle Shal Bereshis. Now let's go talk about the rest of the pasuk that has to do with Bereshis. Va'amor, it says like this. After this phrase, Bereshis bara, Kosev Elokim es. So then it says Elokim. We know it refers to, usually to Bina, but it refers certainly to Dinim. And then it says the word es. Ushtei tevos elu heim sod hanekevos. So these two are the concepts of the nekevos, shachal partsufi Abba, of the partsufim of Abba, V'Zer Anpin. In other words, they're mates. That's what it sounds like. He's talking about the female aspect of each. So he's on this karim. Shehem Ima, which goes with Abba, V'Nukva, which goes with Zer Anpin. Ki Ima Nikras Elokim Kanaida. So we know that Ima is always or often called Elokim. V'Hanekeva Nikras Ace, and the nekeva is called Ace. Now, why wouldn't a nekeva be called Ace? Ki osios tevus Ace, because these two letters, Romzos, so they're Ramazos, the Shahanukva Kolelos Akol, Ma'alef Ad Tov. In other words, she's the ultimate receptacle, and she receives everything, all of the letters, all the shefa that comes through the letters. Upartsufi nekevus choloducha midikos gam b'shemos adni and akia. So these two partsufim, the one up above and starting with the one down below, and then the one up above, are called by those names. Ki ima nikvas b'shem akia, v'hanukva nikvas b'shem adni. So he says, so adni is like the word sweetened din. That's really what it is. My sweetened din here. And akia says I got all the energy. The energy's coming. So we see actually have 4 partsufim here. Shehem shnei partsufim zoharim, which are Abba v'zer anpin. Besod Breishis bara, which you could put them into that category of Breishis bara. Then you come to the next. So in other words, here's 2 male elements. I'll bring you 2 male elements first, says HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shtei partsufim nekevas, and then after that I'm going to bring you 2 partsufim nekevas. Shehem ima v'nukva dezah. Besod Elokim Es. That's the secret of the next 2 words. Yemina usmolo kahada ishtatafu. So the right and the left, they all come together, they join together into one. So he said, so let's talk about, the line, which is chachan. So here we're talking about the chach part. So he says that the aspects of yamim, partsufia and the kavos and the partsufim of the females, sheheba bechin is small, which represents the line of the left or the aspect of the left. Nishtatvu kuli yacha, they both become completely and totally together. Besod hayichud kedei lahotzi es holamas hatachtonim, which is the secret of yichud, in order to be able to bring out the lower worlds. Shehem breeds the nasir. In other words, you have to have the yichud, this shtat, this shtatfus. So the way the world works, who are Yedech Bezer V'Nuk is by the Yichud of Zachar V'Nuk the Shazer Anpin Geyser, because Aristotle says this is what we're going to do. For Hanukna Motzil Lepoil, when she actually makes it happen, as Ratzon Baila, that is the will of her husband, which is also the will of the Most High, and it's coming all the way through the female receptacles. So this is what is written after these words, Bereshis bara Elokim es. So now we have these 2 concepts. Shtei tevos hashemayim ve'es. Now you have the shemayim ve'es. Shehu sod zer v'nuk again. He said, because we know that shemayim always refers to ruach, which is zer anpin, and es we just learned. Ki tevos hashemayim hu sod zer anpin v'tevos ve'es. He sod the nukva, which is the secret of the nukva. He said more. Shahan Chagazer Anpin, he bebechinas kav yamim, is the way the right line works. Shu chesed v'netzach. That was the end of the shir. We have a sudden ending often. And so this is Baruch Fleischman, and we'll pick it up tomorrow with God's help. All the best. Oops. Coming back? Rebbe, you still in here? Okay, no problem. He said Dechse because it's written like this. Kamosher Nirmas B'Pasuk, as we said in the Pasuk. That's where I'm at. I don't know where you're at. Hashemayim ve'es, he wants to talk about that. He says Kamosher Nirmas B'Pasuk v'Hatiferes v'Hanetzach, because then you come to the Pasuk over here in Divrei Yomim. He says that these 2 words go together. Tiferes, which is the middle line, and Netzach, which is the right leg. Kolomer Hagam Shazer Anpin Nikro Tiferes. Zer Anpin is Tiferes. Shu Bekavim soy in the middle line. Im Zer Anpin the Bechinas Natza, but it's inclined always towards the leg to be mashpia to the right leg. The Hainu Kavyamin, that is to mashpia down the right line. Ba'afal Pisha Zer Anpin hu Bechinas Kavyamim. So we say, even though we know Zer Anpin is the right line. He kav small. Now he said, I didn't like that language. He says afal pisha zer anpin. Maybe I'll figure it out. Hu bebechinas kav yamim. So we said it's the aspect of the right line. Ve'ilach he bebechinas kav small. And she's the left line. Im kol zecha be'inun gehada dishtatafu. But what happens is they both come together. Zer v'nuk mishtatvim yacha. They make a yichud. B'han chagas atachtonim, in the way that the world has to go. that you have to have opposites, these two opposite forces actually come together in order to create the world and make the world work. The call Maisa B'Ulas and the Kavos and everything that women do, a call B'Koich of Rishus Bailosh Huzer Anpin all comes through the energy and the control that Zer Anpin has, I guess, of that energy. The complete way that things work, yichud the elyon zer anpen in the yichud that takes place in the olam atzilus, bebechinas hachachma shuhu sod mochin the chaya, which is the higher the level chaya we see in the Otzes Chaim is the level of creation that actually makes it possible to create that energy. Ke'inyan shen Amar says, "B'chachma yivne bayis," with chachma build the house. The Zecher Shem B'Sayim as a pasuk. This is how they conclude the pasuk Bereshis bara kasiva haaretz, and it comes over to haaretz. What's pshat? Shehi hamalchus anikras eretz elyon, malchus, which is called the upper eretz. It's eretz. V'tevis haaretz. What does that mean? Romez al shleimus malchus haaretz. It says it tells you malchus gets completed. Dechsiv Kamosha Ember Ma Adir Shem B'Chol B'Chol Aretz, how great or how glorious or beautiful is your name in the land? What's the name? What's it mean? Kolomer Ma Adir Shem B'Chol Asher Hamalchus Hi B'Shleimusa, how beautiful is your name? How your name becomes. Because I'm thinking that Malchus is also called name in a lot of places. But let's see anyone go on. Kasher Malchus Hi B'Shleimusa, when she's in her perfection. Shehiba Bechinas Haaretz, and that's the Bechina called Haaretz. Bechein Ne'emar in Yeshaya. He says, "Maloi Kol Haaretz Kavoda." The whole Haaretz is full of the kavod. This is the concept of zohar v'noch. Upirusho Shahaaretz Shehi Soda Malchus. Na'asas Malaya B'Shef El Yonet. Zer Anpin makes it possible for her to receive the Shef El Yon. Yisod the Nikra Kol through the code, which through Yisod, also called cold, which is also a pool and a receptacle that ultimately delivers. Zecha B'Kochim Shal Lamed Beis Desivas Chachma. So this comes through what? The flow that comes from Chachma through the Lamed Beis Desivas, which we've seen elsewhere. Hanikroyim Kavod, which are called glory. Besod Kavod Ha'ola, because he said the secret is that Kavod is the gematria of Lamed Beis. Veilan Desivas HaChachma, so these paths of Chachma we're talking about, Nimshachim Mekodim El Zer Anpin, so first they come down into Zer Anpin. So we're saying that we're trying to trace the flow. So this is how the 32 comes, Shuhu Besod Ozvav, and so he's like a cylinder or a funnel. And then he picks it all up and he has it, the Kabosha Nirma B'Tevis Kavoda, because it is his Kavod, he has it within it. Sheyesh B'Chaba Osius Kavod Vav, it's the Kavod of the Vav is carrying the Kavod. The nukva, then after that, the shefa, this chachma goes to the nukva, so the yichud, the elyon, and now in the secret of that upper yichud. That's the shir today. Thank you for learning with me, Rebbe. Kosher koyach, kol tuv.